Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. It is Mock Draft Monday, so we got our two-round NFL mock draft for the 2023 draft ready to go. Got my cup of coffee Monday morning. Just wanted to thank you guys for all the support you guys have shown the channel. Almost 950 subscribers, making that push to 1,000 subscribers. The support you guys have shown has been awesome. If you guys like talking college football, you like talking the NFL draft, you like talking football in general, subscribe to the channel, comment on the video below. You guys are absolutely awesome with all the support. Let's start talking some football. The number one overall pick, I think it's a two-man race between Bryce Young and CJ Straud. I think they've distanced themselves as the top two quarterbacks in the class. Now, a year from now, if I were to predict the discourse that's happening, the knock on CJ Straud is he's playing with some of the best wide receivers in the country. It's a knock that a lot of Ohio State quarterbacks, similar to Justin Fields, had. How good would they look if you took away the best wide receivers in the country? And then Bryce Young, it's going to be about the frame. I mean, Kyler Murray was small, but he was like kind of built. I think Bryce Young and Kyler have very similar games where they want to throw first. They have really good arm talent. They throw off platform really well. But Bryce Young's even smaller than Kyler Murray. Now, he hasn't had injury concerns yet. He's actually really good at getting down, kind of avoiding hits. But I know that's going to be a problem because not only is he small, but he is like height-wise, he's very, very just small. And so we'll see how teams see Bryce Young a year from now. But he's got to be one of the best quarterbacks in the country that we've seen. The second overall pick, Will Anderson. He's the best player in the class. He's on the defensive line. You guys, he's probably the best player last year as well. Would have been a top 5 pick. Maybe would have been that number 1 overall pick. He probably would have been that number 1 overall pick. He'll go to the Falcons. The Falcons get a guy who's very good in the run game, very good getting to the passer. And then obviously Bryce Young going to the Lions. We talked a little bit about him. Coming in at 4, a guy that he's kind of my guy that I've dubbed in the summer. Myles Murphy is an absolute stud. I think he can play in a three-point stance. I think he can play like a stand-up outside linebacker role. Very versatile, but the thing that pops out to me is not only does he have a very deep tool bag of rush moves, he's also extremely twitchy. I mean, this guy is the first guy off the ball almost every snap on that Clemson defensive line, and that's saying something because that Clemson defensive line is absolutely loaded. Myles Murphy has been extremely, extremely impressive. Probably my second favorite defensive player outside of Will Anderson, and yeah, I'm sleeping on Jalen Carter a little bit. I love Jalen Carter. I think he's up there as well, but Myles Murphy has been extremely impressive from what I've seen on the tape. At number 5, the Jags try to get just some sort of offensive firepower for Trevor Lawrence, and that's going to be Kayshon Boutte. Could be Jackson Smith, Njigba from Ohio State as well. We have him going next. What separates these guys is I think Boutte is actually extreme. He really reminds me of A.J. Brown. I mean, works the middle of the field extremely well and has absolute burners after the catch. He's good at breaking tackles, and he's got great breakaway speed. Jackson Smith and Njigba, again, I view this very similar to the quarterbacks. It's kind of a 2-horse race, I think, for that wide receiver 1 spot. Both are very good. Jackson Smith and Njigba look like the best receiver on that loaded Ohio State team last year. I'd like to see Kayshon Boutte with a little bit better quarterback play and then staying healthy all year, because this dude was putting up some crazy film, crazy numbers before he got hurt. And then we got Jalen Carter going to the Giants. Arguably the second best defensive player in the class. I really do like Jalen Carter. Probably was the best guy in Georgia's defensive line last year. I think he's taken another step this year. In terms of pass rush, he has the most upside on the pass rush in comparison to Jordan Davis, Devontae Wyatt. So he's going to come in at number 7. And then another one of my pet cats early in the process, Quentin Johnson going to the Bears. I'm not going to mock anybody but a wide receiver to the Bears. If they continue to ignore Justin Fields' weapons, it's just going to end up poorly. You got to take advantage of having a top 10 pick and getting one of the best wide receivers in the class. And Quentin Johnson, I mean, in terms of a prospect, again, we're focusing more on the prospects than the fits. 6'4", he's got great straight line speed, but kind of what separates him and puts him in the top 10 for me is his movement skills for somebody who's 6'4" is off the charts. Very, very impressed with what Quentin Johnson brings in terms of getting out of his breaks, having great body control and ball skills vertically. Extremely impressive. I'm excited to see what he brings to the table. And then number 9, Keely Ringo, my favorite cornerback in the class, 6'2". He's got great length. but he's also very physical and he's got good speed and fluid hits. Really like this kid. I think he's going to be one of the best cornerbacks. I think it's between him and Eli Ricks as to who's going to be going in that number one cornerback spot. Really, really do like Keely Ringo from what I've seen. I was a Georgia guy all of last year. Ringo was the best cornerback on that team last year. I think he'll be the best cornerback in the country this year. The Commanders go Michael Mayer. This tight end class is absolutely loaded. I want to throw up some guys who I didn't even put in the first 2 rounds. I mean, Cameron Latu from Bama, Will Mallory from Miami. I really like Sam Laporta from Iowa. Really, really good tight end class. And I mean, I had Eric Gilbert going. I had Jaleel Billingsley going. I even had Darnell Washington going in this draft. Like, this tight end class is really, really good. Michael Mayer going to be a top 10 pick. Really good inline blocker. They call him Baby Gronk for a reason. Nolan Smith at 11. Literally, I get big time TJ Watt vibes from him. Comes back another year. Probably would have been a day 2 pick. I think he needs to fill out the frame a little bit more. I believe he only weighed 235 pounds playing for Georgia this year. 6'3", really good off the ball. He's just a really competitive guy. All those studs on Georgia, Nolan Smith seemed to be, him and Nakobe Dean were the leaders of that defense. And that's saying a lot with how loaded that team was. Not only are you getting a good player who's a former number 1 overall recruit out of high school, you're also getting a great leader. Nolan Smith's a guy that I really like for a multitude of reasons. Excited to see him hopefully take that next step. Spencer Rattler coming in at 12. I feel like people just kind of forget he's in this class. I mean, this time a year ago, he's supposed to be the number 1 overall pick. QB1 in most people's boards. Obviously, a tough year there at Oklahoma. He had a lot of growing up to do. You knew the talent was there. You'd like to see a little bit more maturity out of him. Everything that I've read and seen from him in South Carolina is that he's grown up. I mean, he kind of took a little slice of humble pie there at Oklahoma, got benched for Caleb Williams. I think this guy's kind of figuring it out, kind of, I don't want to use the words becoming a man, but he's growing up, and that's one of the most important things you can do as a quarterback prospect is you're going to have to be the leader, the captain of that offense. I think Spencer Rattler is going to be doing that at South Carolina. It seems to be just a better spot for him. Excited to see what he can do there in the SEC. And then the second overall pick, and I don't think it's out of this world if you see the Eagles have those two first-round picks, move up and try to get one of the elite quarterbacks, the Bryce Young or the CJ Straud, couple those picks and move into the top 5. But Eli Ricks, again, we talked about the cornerback class. He's probably the number 2, I think number 1 cornerback on a lot of people's boards. Coming to Alabama from LSU. LSU kind of a little bit of a broken team this year. Eli Ricks has all the tools in the tool shed. Got to put it on film. What better school to do it on than Alabama? And then another Alabama DB, Malachi Moore, kind of plays that nickel spot. Didn't have a great year last year, but in the COVID year as a true freshman, this dude was absolutely insane. In terms of a fit, again, we don't get too much into fits this time of year, but you know the Patriots are going to like this kid. Very, very good in the box, getting behind the line of scrimmage. A little bit of like a Jalen Petrie-esque kind of player. I think he has a little bit more tools. I think he's a little bit more physically gifted. If he puts a good year in his 3rd year at Alabama, I think this dude can be a first-round pick. And then we got the first offensive tackle going, Peter Scaronski from Northwestern. Haven't seen a ton of him yet. Again, I said that last week. Watched a little bit of him. He is very good. I don't think this tackle class is as good as it was last year in terms of that top-end talent. I mean, guys like Evan Neal, Charles Cross, and Kevin Kwanu were kind of franchise tackles. Not saying Peter Skronsky isn't a franchise tackle, but I don't think it's as top-end bona fide prospect as you had in a guy like Evan Neal, Cameron Charles Cross. Zion Nelson, a guy that you probably won't see in too many first-round picks, going to the Dolphins. Very, very athletic, played tight end. And you see this a lot. A lot of the first-round picks this year played tight end in high school, have that really athletic movement skills. Zion Nelson's one of those guys. Played as a true freshman at Miami at 280 pounds. Kind of got torn up a little bit. Made a massive step in his second year. Was supposed to be a first-round pick coming in last year. A lot of people were talking about him, and it was a projection. Like, this dude needed to figure it out and put it on the field more. Very good pass protector. Would like to see him move a little bit more bodies in the run game. Mario Cristobal coming in, talking about a prospect that can be a top 10 overall pick, has the physical tools to be. Zion Nelson's one of those guys. If he takes a step similar to what he did from his first and second year, I really do think Zion Nelson could find his way into that first round. And then the Tennessee Titans go get Brian Brazee, another guy that people seem to just kind of forget about. Former number one overall prospect in his class, tore his ACL in that fourth game against NC State last year. You don't often see 18-year-olds come in as true freshmen at the Power 5 level and dominate, especially close to the ball on that defensive line like Brian Brazee did. I mean, in terms of his get off, the play strength, the vertical or the horizontal quickness, really impressive. I think he's going to be a top 20 pick. He obviously needs to have a good year coming off the ACL injury. He's a freak. If there's anybody who can kind of just come back from an ACL, it's going to be Brian Brazee. Excited to see what this guy brings as we close out this ad real quick. Number 18, Paris Johnson. They have him as guard in this simulator. He's going to play tackle. He was another top 10 overall recruit out of high school. Didn't have the best year. He'll play tackle this year. He's very athletic. You look at him, he looks like a tackle that was built in the lab a little bit. Needs to play better, but I think he's going to be a top 20 prospect. Again, a little bit more of a projection for Paris Johnson Jr., but I do like kind of what he brings athletically to that tackle spot. Number 19, Connor Galvin from Baylor. He's another guy I haven't seen a ton about. 6'7", 320 pounds. Kind of a little bit of a mauler. I need to watch more about him, but a lot of buzz coming into the 2022 college football season from Connor Galvin. Thought I'd give him a little honorable mention. That being said, I need to get a little bit more film on Connor Galvin. Number 20, Jordan Addison from Pitt. Transfers to USC. He's going to put together a really good year at USC. Kind of hard not to see USC averaging over or under like 35 points per game. This offense is going to be electric. Jordan Addison, Bolitnikoff Award winner last year. Coming to USC with Caleb Williams. Hard to see him not being a first-round pick. I think it's a perfect situation. If there's any coach in the country that knows how to work the quarterback-wide receiver duo, it is Lincoln Riley, thinking about the quarterback prospects and the wide receiver prospects he put into the league from OU. Guys like CeeDee Lamb. I think Jordan Addison is just going to be another name on that list. 21, Noah Sewell, or from Oregon, 250. He came in and played linebacker as a true freshman, I believe, at 260 pounds. Lost a little bit weight. I think he's going to play at 250 this year, but doesn't matter what your weight is when you have the sideline speed like Noah Sewell does. Really, really athletic for his size. Takes on blocks extremely well. Linebacker is one of those positions where you got to play a lot of snaps to kind of get a feel from the game, build up those instincts. I think Noah Sewell has shown that, and I think he's going to continue to do that in his third year in college football. I think he'll be the first linebacker off the board. Bijan Robinson, you guys know, if you guys are a friend of the channel, I don't love taking running backs with those top 20 picks. He was there at 22 when I was doing this. I was like, he's got to go somewhere. You obviously have Joe Mixon, but the Bengals are kind of just trying to find a bump. Like, what players can provide the most instant value with Joe Burrow on that rookie deal to kind of just make you get over that hump and win a Super Bowl? I think Bijan Robinson can do it. In terms of running back prospects and when you take them, you don't want to take just a pure runner in the first round, but Bijan Robinson isn't a pure runner. Not only is he the best pure runner in the class, though. I mean, just physically really big. He's got great breakaway speed, breaks tackles, pretty much checks all the boxes. One of the best running back prospects we've seen in a really long time. Also extremely good out of the backfield. I mean, they were lining him up in the slot at times, runs extremely good routes, very comfortable catching the ball out of the backfield. Bijan Robinson is a guy that I'm extremely excited about, and I think he's going to go in the first round. I'm not necessarily sure where he's going to go or how high. 22 seems to be a decent fit. I could see him going before that as well. 23, Isaiah Foskey from Notre Dame, a guy that I've been hearing a lot of buzz about. Watched a little bit of him this weekend. I'm impressed with him. It's interesting to see that edge class. I had a lot of guys on the edge go. Guys like Jalen Carter from Army, also kind of an honorable mention for that spot. Bijan Ojulari, both LSU edges too. Isaiah Foskey is a guy that I think is going to take that next step and become a first-round prospect. And then 24, Jordan Battle, A guy that probably was one of the best safeties, if not the best safety coming out this year, decides to come back to Alabama. Not really sure how Nick Saban managed to get all the talent that could have gone to the NFL draft to come back. Guys like Jordan Battle, guys like Henry To'oTo'o, but they all come back. This defense is going to be phenomenal. Again, Jordan Battle, it's just he's going to take another step, become a better prospect. I think he'll be a first-round pick. And then we got Tyler Davis from Clemson, another guy that probably could have gone in day 2 of this year's draft on Clemson. This Clemson defensive line is just absolutely disgustingly loaded. Tyler Davis, a little short to the ground, a little squatty, but great get off. He has great play strength. Banged up last year. If this Clemson defensive line stays healthy this year, Brian Brazee, Miles Murphy, Tyler Davis, Xavier Thomas, KJ Henry, I'm probably naming out or leaving out some other studs as well. All these guys can be day 2, day 1 prospects, including Tyler Davis. Really like Tyler Davis's game. Excited to see him kind of take that next step, kind of round out his prospect, his NFL prospect resume, I guess you'd say. Anthony Richardson at 26. The Seahawks need a quarterback. They're going to take one look at Drew Lock and be like, we got to get a quarterback. Didn't have him taking quarterback with their 9th overall pick. This quarterback class is interesting because I said I think Bryce Young and CJ Straud have distanced themselves as the top 2 quarterback prospects, but you have a lot of guys that I really like. Guys like Will Levis, Jaron Hall, Jay Kaner. I like Hendon Hooker and Phil Yurkovich too. A lot of good guys. Anthony Richardson, though, I mean, if you take one look at his film, how he looks, and you don't think Cam Newton, I think you're crazy. Very strong arm, just needs to get that arm under control. I mean, a little bit erratic. It didn't help that Dan Mullen and that Florida offense was playing a little QB roulette. I mean, like rotating quarterbacks every drive. That is not a recipe for success for any quarterback. I mean, you got to get a feel for the game, got to get your feet wet, got to see different defensive looks. And when you're coming in and out of games, it's kind of hard to build that rhythm. One thing I worry about is the pass catching group from Florida. I don't think it's particularly great, but Anthony Richardson, in terms of physically running the football, being very hard to tackle with that huge frame and great speed for the size, and then really good arm talent. He just needs to hone that arm talent in. I think he could be a first-round quarterback. Again, that's a little bit more of a projection. And then another projection, Broderick Jones, played guard mostly for Georgia this year. He's going to kick out to left tackle, replacing Jamari Salyer, a former top 10 recruit on 24/7 Sports. Looked good at left tackle against Bama in the national championship game. He's going to play left tackle the whole year this year. He's got all the tools as well. Puts it on film. I think he'll be a first-round prospect as well. Bijan Ojulari from LSU looked great in the spring game. Him and Ali Gay, I think, have the bones to be first-round draft picks. Need to put it on the field again. BJ looked good last year. Hopefully he can look good this year again. LSU is one of those defensive lines that's absolutely loaded. Excited to see what those guys bring. Joey Porter Jr. getting another projection again. Kind of throwing guys in who've impressed me when I've been watching film in the summer. Super long arms, like 33-inch arms, I would guess. Probably needs a little bit work on like the lateral quickness, the fluidity in the hips. Turns on breaking up balls, but if he kind of builds that to his game, I really do like Joey Porter. And then Brandon Joseph, the transfer from Northwestern. He was supposed to be a bona fide first-round pick last year. Northwestern just stunk. I think it's hard to be a standout player when your team around you kind of stinks. I think he objectively had a bad year. Thinking about the film from that first game against Michigan State, took some bad angles, missed some tackles. Comes into Notre Dame. Obviously, he kind of has that build to Kyle Hamilton. You can think about last year. Him, Brandon Joseph, and Kyle Hamilton were the 2 top safeties in the class. Kyle Hamilton obviously had a great year, was a top 15 pick. Brandon Joseph, kind of a down year, ends up coming back, transferring to Notre Dame. I like kind of that fit. We'll see what he kind of brings this year. Tyler Van Dyke, the Bucs, they need to start thinking about life after Brady. This seems to be like a perfect replacement. Again, if Brady plays a couple more years, Tyler Van Dyke learning from Tom Brady seems to be a great fit. Other guys you could throw in there, Will Levis, Jay Kaner, 2 guys I also really like. But Tyler Van Dyke falling to 31. I have him falling because, I mean, realistically, he played a good 6 games, and he looked great. but you got to play a little bit more for me to kind of put you in that top 20, top 15, top 10 range. Think he'd be a great replacement for Tom Brady there in Tampa. And then Trenton Simpson from Clemson. Again, we talked about this Clemson defense in general. Trent Simpson, a little bit of an undersized backer, plays a little bit in the nickel. Really good running with tight ends. He's actually really physical in the box too, can do a lot of good things that you like. Big fan of Trenton Simpson. If he puts together some really good film, I do think he can be a first-round prospect linebacker. Again, guys like Henry Toto, you see in that round 2. Also guys to keep an eye on. But again, Trenton Simpson has all the tools to be that modern NFL linebacker. Excited to see what he brings. And that rounds out our first round of our mock. Again, thank you guys for checking us out. We appreciate all the support you guys have shown. I'll throw this up here. If you guys do like the content, subscribe to the channel. We appreciate all the support. We'll be back doing that second round a little bit later. Appreciate you guys checking us out. Talk to y'all later. Peace.